The Magic are back home from a 3-2 road trip. The vibes feel different. What we learn on the Magic's big road trip today on Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is March 18th, 2025. My name is Philip Rossman-Reich. I'm the senior writer over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com. Of course, follow me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD and on Blue Sky at PhilipRR. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, the Orlando Magic with a stunning 3-2 road trip after their horrible 1-6 homestand. What we learned about the Magic on this road trip and why things finally seem to be pointing in the right direction. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. First, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day, no matter when you listen to us, whether it's first in the morning, whether it's right we upload. We truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. You can make Locked On Magic even bigger part of your day with the Locked On Magic Daily Newsletter, the one-stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com and start your day with the all-new free Locked On Magic newsletter. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by Prize Picks. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. We talked about this 10 days ago now, 11 days ago now. Days are weird. We talked about this 2 weeks ago. The Orlando Magic, coming out of the All-Star break, had a golden opportunity in their hands. They had the world in front of them, the ability to accomplish their goals, maybe climb back into the fight for sixth, probably not, but the Magic had the opportunity to control their own destiny and put themselves in the best spot to give themselves the best seeding they could for the playoffs up ahead. Yes, the play-in is not where we want to be, but this is the reality, so we're going to deal with it. At this point, the goal is to make the most of the time that the Magic have left together. But the Magic dropped the ball. They wanted to come out fast. We expected them to come out fast. They beat the Atlanta Hawks in a really nice game and a really important win, but then they dropped the ball. A 1-6 homestand where the Magic lost 4 of the last 6 games on the final possession and 5 of the 6 games in the dying seconds of the game. In the dying moments of the game. It was a hard pill to swallow, especially because 3 of those losses came to teams below them in the standings, the Toronto Raptors twice and the Chicago Bulls. The loss to the Chicago Bulls meant they lost the season series to the Bulls, which hopefully will mean nothing, but we can't assume anything at this point. On top of all that, we knew the Orlando Magic were going on a very difficult road trip. At Milwaukee, at Houston, at New Orleans, at Minnesota, at Cleveland. We were hoping beyond hope just to get 2 wins. And while New Orleans felt like one you could count, that would mean the Magic would have to steal a win from a team with a better record than them. Against a team that is above 500, something the Magic had struggled to do. Certainly we are feeling the vibes again. The vibes are good once again, as the Orlando Magic return home with a 3-2 road trip, beating the Cleveland Cavaliers, beating the Milwaukee Bucks, beating the New Orleans Pelicans, and competing into the final moments of the game against the Minnesota Timberwolves on an insanely difficult back-to-back. What's the number one thing we learned on this road trip? The Magic are not done fighting. They were down big to the Wolves. They were down big. They were down big to the Rockets, still fought back. That game was not, was not close, but it wasn't a runaway either. They were down big to the Cavs on the road, and they fought back. Are they perfect right now? No. Should you have all the utmost confidence in them? No. They've still only won consecutive games once since December 23rd, and they haven't won 3 games in a row since early December too. The Magic still have a lot of things they need to get together and need to figure out. And as good as the vibes might feel after Sunday's big win in Cleveland, None of it matters if they don't follow it up with the win against Houston on Wednesday. And we'll dive into the schedule in our last segment when we talk about the race for 7th. But the Magic have work to do. They still got a lot of work to do. This road trip, though, felt like the Magic coming closer to being the team they want to be. Overall, in the last 5 games, the Magic posted a 108.3 defensive rating, which is better than their season-wide average. For the first time in a long time, the Magic had a 5-game stretch with a positive net rating, plus 2.1 points per 100 possessions. A lot of close games, 2 losses, but 2 losses that don't kill you in the end. The Magic got sterling performances from Paolo Banchero. They got players to step up, like Corey Joseph coming off the bench and filling in the starting lineup. We'll talk about Anthony Black here in a minute. The Magic got so many of these pieces together. And they put themselves in positions to win every game. Except for maybe Houston. Maybe I'll give you the Houston game. But essentially, they built a 30-point lead against the Pelicans, put together their best half in a long time. They got down to the final 3 minutes against Minnesota. 9-0 run with about 3 minutes to go. Ended that game, but they still fought. A huge run to come back with 2 minutes to go against the Cavs on Sunday was a gutsy win. And really, the game against Milwaukee was good, if you could think back that far. Because the Magic came out and laid the intensity down early. They put their work in early to build a lead. They shot confidently. Again, they shot confidently. Over the last 5 games, Orlando's effective field goal percentage is not that great, 51%. But over the last 5 games, the Magic are shooting, dare I say, okay, 37.2% from 3 over the last 5 games on this road trip. A Magic team that makes threes, that makes shots, is a Magic team that can play confidently, can get stops, can do all the things that this team needs to get done, can do all the things that put them in a position to win. It does feel like, for the first time in a long time, a lot of pieces are coming together. Now, again, it's not perfect. The Magic's defense has been good, not great. The rebounding, especially one of the big strengths for the Orlando Magic throughout the course of the year, has not been good. And it's not just the Houston game where they gave up a ton of offensive rebounds. It happened against Minnesota. It happened against Cleveland. Franz Wagner right now is going through a prolonged slump where he is just struggling to make the floaters and runners that are essentially his diet of shots. They're not going in right now. And that's going to be one of the big factors that elevates this team. But when you look around, you see a lot of other positive signs. Yeah, Wendell Carter maybe didn't have a great game in Minnesota, but he fought against Houston, even if he was overmatched. He fought certainly against Cleveland, matching Jared Allen and negating his impact on the glass. You look at Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Yeah, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope had a game against Houston where he didn't get a shot off, and it frustrated everybody to no end. But Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is shooting above 40% in his last 10 games, I believe, from 3. Let me pull those stats up real fast for you. In the last 5 games on this road trip, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope shot exactly 50% from 3. In 4 games, was 7 for 12 from 3. Small sample size. Let's say the last 10 games. Since I'm a Kentavious Caldwell-Pope truther, over his last 10 games, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is shooting 47.8% on 2.6 3-point attempts per game. Things are percolating. Things are starting to take shape, and it is certainly better late than never. Now, again, nothing is guaranteed. It's not to say like this is all promised and guaranteed. We know Paolo is going to get somewhere between 25 and 30 points every night at this point. Paolo is back to his pure form. The Magic ultimately have to sustain this level. And that's but they've struggled with. And no player represents the struggle to sustain consistency quite like Anthony Black. What the Magic got from Anthony Black Sunday that needs to continue, we'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends at Hungry Root. When it comes to grocery shopping and meal planning, I've had this ongoing problem. I just don't have the time between work, life, trying to eat healthier. I'm constantly feeling stressed out about food, and that just makes me want to eat more. I go to the grocery store, buy things I didn't need, and then end up with no time to actually cook, just planning out when I'm going to eat the meals that I buy. It's just so stressful. And sticking to your health goals, well, it's March. There's still time to get in on that New Year's resolution, but it's not going great. But everything changed when I discovered Hungry Root. Honestly, it's been a game changer. It's the easiest way to eat healthy without all the stress. With Hungry Root, it's like having a personal shopper and nutritionist all in one. They take care of your grocery shopping, recommending meals and groceries based on your tastes and health goals, from anti-inflammatory to high protein and gluten-free options. And the best part, every meal is ready in 15 minutes or less. I'm talking quick, healthy meals that actually taste great, all delivered straight to your door. It's been a huge time saver and has made healthy eating so much simpler. You're going to love Hungry Root as much as I do. For a limited time, get 40% off your first box and a free item in every box for life. Just go to hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA and use code LockedOnNBA. That's hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA, code LockedOnNBA to get 40% off your first box and a free item of your choice for life. hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA, code LockedOnNBA. Do not miss out. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is also brought to you by our friends over at Monarch Money. Ever check out your bank account and wonder, where did all your money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery. Now I budget smarter and save money. Their all-in-one convenience allows you to find everything in one app instead of juggling multiple apps to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. And they even make it easy to collaborate with a partner, with people who you're financially intertwined with, without all the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LockedOnNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LockedOnNBA for half off your first year. We're going to have a lot of time at the end of the season to assess and evaluate why this team didn't turn out the way we thought it would. And more than that, we're going to have a lot of time at the end of the season. And I think this is honestly the biggest thing that Jeff Weltman's going to have to do at the end of the year, is figuring out whether something didn't work because it just won't work, or whether it's something that didn't work because of the circumstances of the season, the injuries, all that stuff, or started to work and maybe needs a little bit more time. That is the ultimate struggle, and frankly, the difficulty of what's coming up for the Orlando Magic, is how much do we blame on the injuries? How much needs to be improved? And there's a lot. I'm not saying here, go for complacency. Complacency's bad. It's time to be aggressive. But figuring out which players or which experiments or which things to completely abandon or which just might need a little bit more time. Frankly, when it comes to individual players, no player is under a greater microscope, is under bigger scrutiny, is under whatever you want to call it, than Anthony Black. Anthony Black is the big one. The number 6 overall pick of the 2023 draft, a player that I get a lot of comments saying was especially now in hindsight, the wrong pick for the Magic. And I do my best to explain why I think the Magic picked him, why, again, I think you can't use hindsight as much. Like, yeah, something doesn't work, it doesn't work. But there's a lot to think about with Anthony Black. And frankly, a lot of the team's ongoing philosophies and a lot of the team's ongoing thought processes are frankly encapsulated or symbolized by the Anthony Black decision. The reality is the Magic banked on him being ready to take on the backup point guard role. That was the role they set out for him. They cleared the path for him. They gave him that job. And I think even though we can all sit here and say unequivocally, Anthony Black is a better player than he was last year. 9 points per game this year. 3 assists per game. Some of that just more time on the floor, taking more shots. He's shooting 7.5 field goal attempts per game. He's at 3.6 last year in 7 fewer minutes. He's shooting threes, not well, 31.6%, but he's shooting them. He's comfortable enough to shoot them. We can see the hints of who he's supposed to be and what he can bring to this team. And obviously, his defense for a second-year player especially is unassailable. But the Magic don't get it every night. And this is the ultimate tension of the Anthony Black story this year. The ultimate tension is Anthony Black needs time to make mistakes. He needs time to figure himself out. And the Magic are a results-oriented team right now. They are, and they should be. Anthony Black is not necessarily results-oriented as far as his growth and development. He needs time. And the question is whether it's time the Magic can give him. Having said all that, games like Sunday show you why the Magic believe in Anthony Black. For his defense in the third quarter, him and Gary Harris turned that game on its head. Down by 7, they sparked an 8-0 run by forcing back-to-back-to-back turnovers, including Gary Harris stealing an inbounds pass and laying it up like a 2K steal on that case. They set this team up for success. They put this team in a position to carry them over the finish line. And when Anthony Black plays well, the Magic play well. There's frankly few players who swing this team the way that Anthony Black does. In wins for the Orlando Magic this season, Anthony Black is averaging 10.5 points per game and 3.2 assists per game. In losses, he averages 7.7 and 2.9. Not huge differences, but here's the difference. In wins, Black shoots 47.6% from the floor and 42.7% from 3. In losses, he shoots 35.8% and from the floor and 28.8% from 3. Anthony Black is essential to Magic victories because the Magic need the injection of offense. They need someone else to be able to score. But him being able to make shots and force defenses to treat him honestly, giving him that closeout potential to get to the basket and finish at the rim, that's everything. But it's not just about that production. It's about the attitude and swagger that Black plays with. When he's tentative, the team can be tentative. When he's aggressive, the team can be aggressive. And that is as much the story of this season as anything else. This season has been a battle of confidence because injuries have gutted this team so much and put them in such a big hole. The Magic, at times it feels like, haven't been able to get themselves up, haven't been able to get themselves over that finish line or over the hump or wherever they want to be. And yeah, guess what? You take on the personality of your lead ball handler. So with those second units, it's Anthony Black. He's the lead ball handler. Anthony Black is still the big swing player on this team. When he plays well, the Magic play well. And it has been a repeated story throughout the season. Every player, when you ask about Anthony Black, tells you we need him to be aggressive. We need him to be confident. We're trying to feed him aggression and confidence as much as we can. Jamal Mosley said it after Sunday's game. When Anthony Black is aggressive and confident, he is as good as any player in the league. Let me give you that exact quote, in fact. When Anthony Black is aggressive, both offensively and defensively, he is a problem. That was the quote. And that's who the Magic are trying to get Anthony Black to be every night. Why are the Magic a 500 team? Because they have a lot of players like Anthony Black that they're counting on that don't have it every night. What was so exciting about this road trip? Kentavious Caldwell-Pope had it for the 3 of the 4 games that he played. Paolo Banchero had it every night. Elite play every night. Corey Joseph provided stability when Cole Anthony was out. The Magic got mostly solid rebounding. Again, the Minnesota game, 4 out of the 5 games, they got solid contribution from Wendell Carter. The building of that consistency is what's going to get the Magic out of this hole. But as you can tell, I'm saying 4 out of 5 games, 3 out of 5 games, 3 out of 4 games. The difference is it's got to be every night. And that's where the Magic are trying to get Anthony Black, and that's where the Magic are trying to get this team. So let's do a standings check. What is the road to 7th? Not where we want to be, but where we are. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at PrizePicks. Basketball season is heating up, and there's no better way to get in on the action than with PrizePicks, the best place for daily fantasy sports. With PrizePicks, you just pick more or less on at least 2 player projections for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. It's easy to use, available in more than 30 states, and lets you mix and match projections across different sports. This week, you can select Luka Doncic for more than 25 points and Jason Tatum for more than 8 rebounds to build one example of a lineup. It's really simple. You just put that together. It takes 60 seconds to put together a lineup, and then you can watch the winnings come in. With fast payouts, when you win, your money hits your account in as little as 15 minutes. There's no waiting around. And Tuesday, that's today, every Tuesday, PrizePicks discounts select player projections up to 25%, giving more value to your lineup. You get those free squares. It helps so much to put together those winning combinations. Download the app and use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNBA for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
At some point here, the Orlando Magic are going to let everybody catch up to them in games. In fact, the Miami Heat, they had 3 games in hand, used one of them tonight against the New York Knicks. They lost to the Knicks. When we get these little breaks in the schedule, and we will get these breaks in the schedule, we're on standings watch every single night. We are watching, we're seeing what the standings are, where the Magic are, checking the Magic number. I believe the Magic's magic number for a play-in spot is now 7. So we're on that final countdown. We are keeping an eye on where we're at in the standings. And again, this is why Sunday's win was so big. This is why Sunday's win mattered so much. Because that was a game that you counted as a loss. I was like, that's a game that we're not going to make up ground on. And the reality is, forgetting the Heat, the Hawks have a game in hand. The Magic have to make up ground. The Hawks have 36 losses. The Magic have 37. There's no getting losses back. They have the same number of wins. Atlanta's got to lose that game in hand, essentially, for Orlando to catch up. So Orlando's behind. Now, we'll get to some of what's coming up here in a minute. Orlando is behind at the moment. However, the Magic stealing that game against the Cavs means they picked up that game. They picked up a game they needed to get. Why is Atlanta ahead of Orlando suddenly? Because they beat Indiana twice. Games they weren't supposed to win. Games they stole, in quotation marks. But this is the road to 7th. Orlando is playing catch-up. Now, here's where things stand. The Hawks have lost 2 straight. They lost to Brooklyn on Sunday. So again, that's a big flip. That was a big swing. It brings the Magic to within a half game. Like I said, Atlanta and Orlando both have 32 wins. Atlanta has 36 losses. Orlando has 37 losses. Let's get this part out of the way. Don't worry about the Miami Heat right now. The Miami Heat have lost 8 straight. They are now 2.5 games back in the Magic for 8th. They are a half game ahead of the suddenly surging Chicago Bulls for 10th, for 9th. There's a real good chance Miami is heading up to Chicago to face the Bulls in the play-in tournament. And then whoever goes to Orlando or Atlanta as needed. There are a few important things to remember here. Orlando is still 3-7 in their last 10. So they went 3-2 on this road trip. Like I've been saying since yesterday, forgetting Atlanta for a moment, Orlando has to take care of their business. And that's what they didn't do during that homestand that they had to do. Flip just one of those games and Orlando controls their destiny for the play-in. That's the truth of it, because they'll have one more win and the same number of losses. If they would have flipped 2 of those close games, they'd be not comfortably ahead, but relatively ahead of the Hawks. That was a blown opportunity. Orlando is getting its last little pocket of home games right now. I know they come home, they play Houston, they go back out on the road against Washington, but they come back to a 4 of the next 5 at home. So a lot of home games coming. Here's the Magic schedule. This is a softer part of the schedule. Houston on Wednesday is going to be tough. They just lost to the Philadelphia 76ers, a really bad loss for the Rockets. You know they're going to come in a little more focused after that game. That's a big gut check game for the Rockets. The Magic have to come ready, and the Magic have to be thinking, we've got to get this win. We've got to match what we did Sunday against Cleveland. But this is where the Magic, these next 5 games are really critical. Wednesday versus Houston. Friday at Washington. Again, should be a win. Washington can be a little frisky. You can't sleep on them. At Washington on Friday. Home versus the Lakers on Monday. The penultimate back-to-back of the season at Charlotte on Tuesday. Charlotte hit the crazy amount of threes against San Antonio the other night, but Charlotte's not good. That should be a win. The Lakers will be without LeBron James for Dwight Howard night on Monday. That should, I'm not saying that should be a win, but advantages are there. Still got to deal with Luka. It's not easy by any stretch of the imagination. Then you get next Thursday against Dallas. Again, Dallas, zombie Mavericks right now. They might have Anthony Davis back. He's going down to their G League team to start ramping up his play. So in a week, maybe, I don't think it will be a week before he's back, but there's a possibility they aren't the zombie Mavericks anymore. And then Saturday, March 29th against the Kings, Monday, March 31st against the Clippers, and then the final back-to-back of the season at San Antonio. Again, another tanking team on a back-to-back. Those aren't easy, but those got to be wins. And then at Washington, April 3rd, and then let's just go through the rest of the schedule. Final homestand, April 8th versus the Hawks, April 9th versus the Celtics. So there's, 3 more back-to-backs. I thought we were 2 more left, but a home back-to-back is not bad. And then closing the season, April 11th at Indiana, April 13th at Atlanta. So keep all this in mind as we get to the end of the season. As long as Orlando is within 2 games of the Hawks, the Magic technically still control their own destiny. Because if they beat the Hawks twice, they're the 7 seed. That's, frankly, I don't see Atlanta getting so far ahead of Orlando that if the Magic don't win both games in the final week of the season against Atlanta, that the Magic aren't the 7 seed at the end of the day. But this is what I mean by these next 5 games. If the Magic can find a way to beat Houston or the Lakers, these next 5 games, if we're going to play the 7-game series, that's what Jamal Mosley wants to do. If the Magic beat the Lakers or the Rockets and take care of their business in the other games, they'll go 3-2, or they'll go 5-1 or 4-1. And that, again, we can't be in the business of counting wins because the Magic haven't done that in months at this point. But if Sunday's win really means something, they'll win Wednesday, and then they'll build a little bit of a win streak. And if they can build, it's not going to take very much to put some distance between you and Atlanta. Now, I mentioned it earlier. They got a really tough finish to the season. Atlanta, Boston, Indiana, Atlanta. The Hawks don't have that kind of a finish. The Hawks right now are also kind of seemingly in a softer spot in their schedule. They play the Hornets on Tuesday at Charlotte, then Golden State, Philadelphia, at Houston, at Miami, at Milwaukee, heading into the end of March. The Blazers are playing better. They'll play the Mavericks, likely with Anthony Davis back. They get the Knicks, and then this is their closing kick at Orlando, at Brooklyn, at Philadelphia, Orlando. That's their final 4 games. Their final 5 are Utah, at Orlando, at Brooklyn, at Philadelphia, and then home versus Orlando. The Magic got to get their work in early. That's the point. That is, if there's one thing to take away from the Standings Watch episode today, the Magic got to get their work done early. And that work getting done early is this week, is these next 5 games, these next 6 or 7 games. For 69 games, there's only 13 games left. So there's not a lot of time. But the Magic are entering probably the softest part of their remaining schedule. They get Washington, they get Charlotte. They'll get Washington one more time on the back end. They get San Antonio in a couple weeks on April 1st. This is the moment when the Magic have to start stacking up wins. They missed the opportunity in the homestand. This is when they got to take control of the 7 seed. This week, Houston, Washington, Lakers, Charlotte, Dallas, those 5 games. Let me make sure I counted right. Houston. Yeah. Those 5 games, you pick up 4 wins in those 5, the 7 seed is yours. You pick up 3 of the 5, you're back in the driver's seat. It may not be yours, but you're back in the driver's seat because Atlanta's probably going to keep sputtering around 500. They're going to be 32 and 36. That's 4 games under 500. 38 and 42. No, sorry, 38 and 42. 39 and 43. Thank you. Let's just say it. First to 40 wins, first to 39 wins, first to 38. That's where the Magic have to get. And let's make it 40. It's a race to 40. Get to 40 wins, 7 seed is yours. Get to 39, it's probably yours, depending on what happens in those 2 games against Atlanta. That's the race we're in. And if the Magic can get 4 of those 8 wins in the next 2 weeks, they'll set themselves up well. And it's not just that. It's the momentum and confidence you get from stacking up wins. The Magic haven't had that for months. So yes, be skeptical that they can do it. But that's the road ahead. This week is vital to the Orlando Magic and vital to their playoff hopes. They've got to take care of their business at home. Houston and the Lakers, they got to get one of those 2 games and beat the rest of the teams on the schedule for the next 2 weeks. They got to probably steal one of the Sacramento or Clippers games as well, and that'll put them in a very, very good spot. It is a race to 40 to get the 7 seed at this point. It's not where we want to be, but it's where we are. So we got to deal with it. We got to make the most of it and see if the Magic can rise to the challenge. That's going to do it for me today, though. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Of course, find me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD. Subscribe to the podcast. Or find me on Blue Sky at PhilipRR. Subscribe to the podcast, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all the Philly Still podcasts to your podcast-enabled listening device. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can find us on Twitter at OMagicDaily. I'll be doing some draft review. I'm going to try and get that done tonight. Post that for tomorrow. So you'll see some draft, some NCAA tournament preview stuff on there. Some exciting stuff going on in the NCAA tournament as well. We'll hopefully talk about that before Thursday's games. We'll talk about it throughout the tournament. I do want to hit some draft coverage here in the next few days, next few weeks. as the NCAA tournament takes place. You can also check out my Patreon page, your Orlando Magic Hub, at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. I will be posting at some point during the NCAA tournament my first big board for the Orlando Magic on there. We'll port that over to Orlando Magic Daily after the NCAA tournament is over, or maybe even after the season. But I am going to endeavor to get that done for you all, for my subscribers, on my Patreon page. Again, that's patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. And with the Magic back home, more practice reports coming out, more video and more stuff there now as the Magic are back at the Advent Health Training Center. As if all that's not enough, you can check out the Locked On Magic daily newsletter, the one-stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com, and start today with the all-new free Locked On Magic newsletter. That's going to do it for me today, though. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic. This has been Philip Rossman, right? We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.